There's opportunity in having nothing to lose. All you need is the right attitude. That's what Maya Angelou said. And I think she's got many fans in this room here, so I don't need to explain. We're all real people here, navigating the wilderness of entrepreneurship. Some of us are building an idea, a business, in our own little way, having lots of fun along the way, and learning lessons every day. I'm looking around this room, and I feel that some of us out here might be trying to build a product or a service, or maybe something within their companies. But the truth is that each one of us here has a story to share. Some of us just have the privilege of being up here, but I'm sure there'll be opportunities to talk some more about your story. Having navigated this whole space of entrepreneurship multiple times over the last 12 years, the one thing that I've learned is that there are learnings, and every conversation is a teachable moment. Our guests today actually need no introduction after the long introduction that has just been made. Here are two women whose foresightedness and ability to leverage opportunity at a very early stage has helped them create iconic businesses. And who, in the words of a friend, are warming up Fireside Ventures, who's also their investor. These are not my words. I saw them on LinkedIn this morning. Meghana Narayan, suffice to say that she's a foodie who moves seamlessly from blanched broccoli and pumpkin meals to exotic Thai and Whitley Neal G&Ts. And I'm delighted to have her here today with me. Ayushi Girvani, in her own words, is a dreamer, a CrossFit lover, a foodie, an eternal optimist. And I'm going to take the liberty of saying I'm quite sure she's a workaholic as much. So happy to have you here, ladies. There is enough and more about your journey out there as your journey as entrepreneurs. What I want this conversation today really is to be about things that don't get talked about enough. And to be able to add to something else that the world knows about Ayushi and Meghana. And I'm hoping that in addition to the takeaways that all of us over here will have, maybe there's something in there for you as much. Okay, I'm going to jump to the first question. Meghana, many things come together to make a good idea successful. In your journey, what are the 3 things that an entrepreneur absolutely must think about before jumping headlong into a business?
Hi, everybody. Really happy to be here. Always happy to chat with Shilpa. She was a prize that I won at a business plan competition. And she thought, poor thing, that she had to mentor us for 3 months. 6 years later, she's still paying a very hefty price for that one session. So thank you, Shilpa. 3 things that make a good idea great or fly. Actually, I don't know. I always say ideas are cheap, execution is everything. So with that frame, it can be a simple idea, it can be a small idea, a big idea, but you have to be super passionate about it because every morning you have to wake up and want to create magic. For us at Wholesome Foods, Slurrp Farm was about making food for kids that was healthy, tasty, that was really easy for moms to make and sort of put their kids on a health food journey early so that they're not doing keto diets and all kinds of other crazy stuff, as they get older. And really the vision is to change the way the world eats, right? So that is, for me, I left McKinsey almost now 6-7 years ago. That was enough to wake up every morning and be really excited for a very, very long time. So I think finding an idea that you want to wake up to is important. I'm super lucky to have a fabulous, fabulous co-founder and a lovely team, all of whom are smarter than me. So it's really nice to be in rooms where people are constantly sort of questioning and challenging and driving the problem forward. And I think the third bit, you need a little bit of delusion. Because if you don't you know, life's a bitch. So you really have to believe that you can solve every problem. And so a little bit of delusion, that's the third piece.
I'm going to jump to my next question to Ayushi. How sustainable is this whole dependence on what we call first mover advantage?
I think in my case, if first mover advantage mattered, I wouldn't be here doing this business. So, yeah, and Meghna stole my line. So, but I think as people say, execution eats strategy for business in some shape and form. There is always an opportunity to build something in a much more differentiated manner, and there is always an opportunity to solve a need that's not met. In our case, despite having thousands of women's wear, Western wear brand in India, I still chose to build FS Life. Why? Because I was a plus size. I could never find great Western wear clothing that still fit me. I would still travel outside of India and get clothes for myself. And as I spoke more to women around me, and I think we have a large group here, everyone resonated with the challenge. So end of the day, there was an unmet need which wasn't being met. And there was an opportunity which was there to conquer. Also, I still want to remind that I did not choose this business because I can stitch very well. I did believe that there is opportunity to build a multi-billion-dollar business. Right. And that's why I was in it. And so therefore, I think first mover advantage can be a great lever, but that does not mean that there is any dearth of ideas. Yeah. And things to implement and run and build something about. Yeah.
And as you and Meghna have both said, I mean, execution is key, right? I mean, ideas without execution are worth squat. Let me segue into my next question, also to you, Ayushi, to you. Strong technology is at the core of all the innovations on the basis of which you've built FS Life, right? What has been your learning around the need to build a moat around your business?
It is critical to build a moat around your business. There is no doubt about it. You may have a first mover advantage, but you need to have a sustainable advantage to build around it. In our case, if you want to win in apparel and the world knows it for ages, you have to crack the supply chain. And that's not the passion project that I've had, but we needed to solve for that. And we spent a lot of time building that and built tech around it, enabling something which should be scalable. Today, 6 years down, we sit at a proposition where no one can compete with us the way we have built it and the way we build inventory and supply chain. And that's the moat. And that is what has enabled us to transition from FableStreet to FS Live, which is a house of brands. And we would probably build the largest house of brands in apparel in India. So there is, I mean, I took my example, but end of the day, I think it is critical to identify the moat, or I would rather say, you know, a set of key principles which will drive your business and run after them relentlessly and with the sharp frame of mind on execution.
Thank you very much. I have one question to the both of you, right? And Meghna, maybe you want to go first. What about your experience of McKinsey has prepared you better for your journey as entrepreneurs? Now, just for your reference, and I don't know if this got said in your introductions, but both Meghna and Ayushi have spent 6 and 7 years at McKinsey. So that's something that they share. And I really want to talk a little bit about, you know, what is it about McKinsey that makes you who you are?
So not only did we spend a long time at McKinsey, we also worked together. You know, Ayushi is incredible. You know, it was a real pleasure and privilege to work with her. What about McKinsey? I think that bit of delusion, right, that I talk about. You know, I was an analyst at McKinsey, right, which is the lowest in the food chain. And broadly, they put like a 20-something-year-old in front of the CEO of, you know, a large multi-billion-dollar corporation, and you're solving the problem for that person who has been working on that their entire life. Of course, you're not doing it alone. You have an entire sort of firm sort of making that happen. But it gives you the sense that, you know, any problem, whatever size, you can take it, break it into small pieces and solve it. So I definitely think the reason there are so many delusional McKinsey sort of BAs and founders is because they genuinely think, "Arey, kuch bhi ho sakta hai, devs." Right? So I think that's one thing. The second is, honestly, I don't know, I didn't learn this at McKinsey, but I've made friends for life there, right? So whether it's Ayushi, Utsav Bejal, who introduced me to my co-founder, who's on my board, these are, and many more. My angel, this thing is full of analysts, buddies of mine who were like, kuch to karegi, don't worry, like, sent me the money and then said, you must be stressed. So I'm like, no, why are you saying like that? It's going to be fine. They're like, no, we know it'll be fine only. You must be stressed. So I think, it just gives you this support system of people who, it's incredible. We have like a WhatsApp group called the McKinsey Mafia. And the other day, somebody, because most problems get solved, it's almost like a bragging right to solve the problem really fast. Somebody said, I really want to meet Julia Roberts. Can somebody help me? And he's like, nobody?
Okay, Ayushi, over to you.
Next time you ask a common question, ask me first. Because Meghna decides to answer all the questions and I don't have any content to say about. I think, in all frankness, right, I think I do give credit to McKinsey a lot to where I am today. It does build a sense of confidence and comfort in you that, you are good. And maybe delusional to say that, if there is any problem in the world, then you're the person who can solve it. Or if you can't solve it, nobody else can.
That's a great attitude.
And that's the confidence that you take forward and enter into a space which is cluttered and still have the confidence to try and solve it, believing that you can do it and do it differently. So that's McKinsey for me. I think the second thing is mentorship, and also therefore transitioning into your leadership journey on how you want to transition and become a leader. The most important thing that I learned at McKinsey was, that when your team is doing a great job, that means you're doing a great job. And therefore, and that's the leadership principle that I take forward, that, I've made mentors for life. I see goodness in everyone that I've engaged with at McKinsey, and I've taken my learnings to build myself as a leader from them. And I'm hoping that I can take that forward with my team and the organization that I'm building. And I think the third thing, as Meghna said, I think friends for life. And also massive access without any bragging rights. You need anything, you have one person sitting in now US heading Starbucks and another person in India next to and accessing Narendra Modi and multiple things, right? So therefore you have just the opportunity to engage and get access to anything that you want.
There can't be a bigger network than this one.
Yes. Yeah. But still most important, super friends and close friends for life.
Yeah, well, I think the attitude, which is that no problem is big enough and cannot be solved, is really a great one to bring to your job on a daily basis, right? Because as an entrepreneur, as a founder, you're dealing with things every day, right? So impossible is nothing. I mean, there are enough and more fires to douse, just bring them on. Okay, Meghna, you have a partner in the business, Shaurvi, who I know and I'm extremely fond of as well. What does it take for the two of you to keep it all together? To keep juggling all the balls that you do up in the air with your family, in your workplace, me time, girl time, all of this, right? What does it take?
So I love that the assumption in that question is that I have it all and I'm like juggling all these balls perfectly. So actually a mentor once told me, you can have it all, just not at the same time. That's the price you pay as a woman, right? That uterus, is in direct conflict with the sort of the career graph. So definitely do not have it all. Right now, I'll tell you what I'm not winning, because I love winning, okay? So I'm winning I have a great kid. The business is going well. I'm fully failing on the fitness and sort of this thing journey. I used to swim competitively for a very long time. So this was like 100 kilometers of swimming and down to hardly any walking these days. So that's the trade-off, right? Because I'm choosing a a bit of fun and meeting my friends and doing a bit of gin and tonic, because that's what's giving me joy, and I prioritize that every single day of my life. It's like in 5-year plans. I think you have to think a little bit like the Niti Aayog for your life. So maybe the next 5 years will be about fitness.
Is your husband here in the audience and realizing that you haven't mentioned him at all?
Also, Meghna is like mincing a lot of interesting words and then swiping around a lot of 20 other conversations.
No, he's not, but his big brother is, so I think I'm in a bit of trouble.
Okay, Ayushi, when do you think in a business should the objective move from scale to profitability? Serious question? Yeah. Not so serious answers, I'm sure. Please.
Yeah, no, I think we started with profitability first before we decided to think about scale. I don't know, this is probably how I was wired. I didn't understand what burning money meant. I only understood, I'm still understanding that. Yeah, but I didn't really understand what burning money meant, right? There are tons of tech startups, and I just refuse to understand how they are still, sustaining. But there is a method to that madness also. But it totally depends on you at what point in time you want to think about profitability. Having said that, I think the fundamental principles of business should not change. You can choose to be profitable on day 1, or you can choose to be profitable in year 6, year 10, but there has to be a line of sight on profitability. You can't decide to sell your products under gross margins being negative, right? And you can't be... So let me speak and answer, Meghna. That's after the chat, right? But that's the reality, right? So therefore, I mean, I think again, and it's been a fortunate journey for us that there are adequate investors and people and everyone around who genuinely understand the meaning of profitability. Last 1 year, the markets have also realized that markets decide and value profitability a lot more, So therefore, I think in your journey to scale, you can choose to be profitable when you feel it is the right time and what is the right scale, and that's different for every business, but not having a line of sight on profitability is not the right way to build business.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have your unit economics in place, I think no amount of money that you put or you burn is really going to save the business in the long term, right? So, yeah.
I think firstly you're talking to 2 consumer startups, right? So we don't burn the kind of capital that you see in the newspapers sort of being burned. You don't need to, firstly. Secondly, like she says, right, we can be profitable whenever we want to. Sometimes you have to because you run out of money. During COVID, a lot of us, not Ayushi, she just raised capital, but we ran out of money, so we learned how to be profitable. That's it. You learn, right? You have no choice, so you do. So I think, you can choose to grow quicker and burn a bit of capital, but you always have to have, you can't just be looking at the top line, bottom line.
Okay. Ayushi, another question for you. When do you think is the right time to invest in offline? I mean, we all know offline engagement builds trust and helps also increase online engagement. So when do you think is the right time for a business to move from being online only to being online and offline?
I think if you look at history in terms of information and data that's available, if you start online, there is a particular scale and space, and it is slightly different for different D2C startups, where you stop growing efficiently online, and it is the right time to focus on offline and start building a brand in an offline space. When it comes to apparel, the journey is around about 100 to 150 crores of online revenue, both marketplaces and your own website combined, and then you look at that. Having said that, if you really step back and start thinking about unit economics and also the way thousands and tons of businesses in India, all the traditional businesses in India have been built offline and profitable and are doing a great job. I mean, barring COVID, right? So, at some point in time, I think it should be done sooner than later. And what you spend on online and digital marketing, and I keep telling that how much you pay to Facebook, you end up doing a much better job when you build store offline and also start building a brand. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the economics of building retail stores is what it is, right? I mean, there's a trade-off. There's always a trade-off to be made. So, but yeah, I like your point about the fact that, you know, get really, really strong online before you start to think about the offline piece.
But also, I think, I think we have to meet investors, and now talking about CACs, probably online is way more expensive than
Yes,
offline
it
at
is.
this point in
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So it is actually an opportune time to go offline.
Yeah. Okay, so now I have a question for the two of you, and if I have to pose it to her first, she does. Yeah, no, it's okay.
I'm fine.
So, you know, I mean, in my journey of building startups, I have seen that startups seldom have time to build a culture. The focus is on getting things done, low tolerance, very trigger happy. Shape up or ship out is really the mantra. How do you bring kindness and heart into the workplace is a question I've always wanted to address to founders.
Okay. Feels like you're cheating. But so I think, I'm not, I might look, but I'm not a 20-year-old founder. I think when you start a company a bit older, you're building something for a long time, which means you're thinking slightly more institution. And I think maybe we didn't say that about McKinsey, but it is an institution. Actually, those values are burned into my skull, right? Like obligation to dissent, like is something that I try to teach, people in my team all day long. We have we did a session on values actually, this thing, and my first slide to my team had all these values sort of written. I was like, can you guess which companies they were? And they were all the right words, right? Integrity, people, excellence, and all of that. And they were like Enron, and the companies that they were just on the wall. People did not live them every day. So, we went through an entire exercise of thinking through what is it for us. It took us a long time. Actually, Aditya helped us a lot through that process, right? We came up with almost 15 things first. And then we were like, if we are not that, then it's not that. We might want to be that, but we have to be that today. And and yes, there's an aspirational piece, but there were also, we wanted to be like, it doesn't have to be serious words, right? It's like live with joy, like is one of the, passion is one of them, and like do what you do and do it with joy. It's a really important value to both of us. So I think if you're saying, how we do it every month. So for example, every month we have like a value of the month. We give awards. We do a lot of the normal things, but I would say we pick we demonstrate it, try to demonstrate it every single opportunity. Yeah.
I think first of all, when we talk about culture, right? 5 or 6 years and you start talking about culture. The first few years of building is actually a way of, building a place where you love working and a place which is a reflection of who you are as a founder. And as Meghna credits it a lot to McKinsey, right? Same for me, and also started a little bit late, not that young. So the idea of building FS Life or FableStreet back then was to build a place for myself and a place where I would like to go and work, and it's a reflection of me. And therefore you build it your way, so you don't want to do it any other way. So that's when you don't think culture then. You basically think that you're hiring the first set of people who share a common set of values. And then as you keep on hiring and growing, you do the same. And that is how you translate and build culture. So today I look back and reflect on the journey. That's been the journey. But it's been an initial years, it's been a journey of my reflection, my values. Then year 2, year 3, year 4 has been a reflection of my team's journey and their values. And today it has translated into a culture. And that's what it is for you. And to go back to your point, that does not mean in any shape or form that, we are not aspirational, we are not driven. I have a set of team members sitting here in the room, right? They know how much they get pushed, and I don't take any shit if they don't deliver. So it doesn't mean that you can't build an organization which is human, which is kind, yet driven, and passionate about what they are building, and still chasing to be the best amongst the best. That's been my learning.
I think that's really well articulated. I mean, the point that I get from talking to the two of you is that in a dual two-founder scenario like Meghna and Sharvi's, an alignment of values between the two of you is really a starting point. And for you, it's been about really upholding values that mean everything to you, so that you're able to bring in people who align themselves with the same culture, and then together you will just find a way to. I also want to say one thing. Bringing kindness and heart into the organization does not necessarily mean you cut people slack for procrastination and mediocrity. They're two different things. So a lot of people like to believe that, I don't really have a kind boss or a kind founder. The truth is that, his or her intolerance for mediocrity or procrastination does not mean she's not kind at heart. So these are completely different things, and we shouldn't get them confused. Okay, Meghna, you've raised VC funding for your business. What do you think was the one thing about what you were building with Slurrp Farms that stood out for your investors?
I think I'd go back to the sort of the idea, right? So I think, okay, there's different types of funding. Like you said, VC funding. Firstly, there's two things. You got to do it at the right time and the right VC. So that's an important sort of thing to know.
Talk a little bit about what defines the right VC.
Sure. I think you have to figure out who is going to really be able to help you get to your goals and shares your values, right? We were very focused on, we wanted somebody who really understood consumer, because we had two actually founders who had never done any consumer, certainly any food. And Fireside and Kawaljeet Singh, who had helped build Paper Boat, ID Fresh, Licious. Like there was an incredible lineup of sort of startups that had grown really nicely under with his sort of mentorship. So I think every sector has their own answers to that question. For both of us, it was Fireside. So I think that. And the second thing about, it's not just about how much you, like of course the headline is all about that, right? Like the PR is all about that. But it's about when you raise it. I think if we had raised it earlier than we did, we would not have had the right product to scale. So we would have been putting rocket fuel into a bullock cart, right? You need that, what they call product market fit and all of that to be able to, Correct. Yeah.
Ayushi, you raise money as well. Yeah. So what's been your big moment which had your investors where you needed them to be? Sorry, what was your one big thing about what you built with FS Life that really had your investors, want to put money into your business?
I think in my case, as a lot of you may or may not have context, right? Apparel is a space which gets the least amount of investments across, and it is the most competitive space. And then trying to do things differently. I think what they saw was, the way we were putting in together the building blocks the right way is what brought them together, and very excited about what we were doing. Also, I was fortunate that I had Kawal as my angel investor. So therefore, he also had the opportunity to see me for 3 years build it very closely up quarters, which allowed them to genuinely get the comfort that they are putting in money in the right founder. So yeah, so that's why.
Okay. I believe that if every woman founder out there chose to mentor 2 women founders, it would change the very fabric of entrepreneurship in our country. What is it that, and this question is to both of you, and whoever wants to go first can go first. What is it that you're doing or want to do that will leave you feeling good about who you are and what you're doing for the world?
I'm the backbencher, Meghna.
So I would say I don't pick out women founders to mentor or anything. I just answer questions whoever asks them, to be honest. But you're right. Like, thank you so much for your mentorship. I don't know, would you have not mentored me if I was a boy?
Actually, I wouldn't have. No, that's the truth. I'll tell you my own experience. I mean, this conversation isn't about my journey at all. But to answer Meghna's question, I feel women are far more sincere about accepting the fact that they need help. They put in a lot more work. And if I have 2 hours to spend, then I want to be able to spend it in a way that I want to spend it, and on people who I know will extract a lot more out of it than someone else will. So yeah, I mean.
Can we have a round of applause for all of you?
So, I'm not there yet. So I think fundamentally, we have a lot of women in our team. And, I wouldn't say, I think it's not fair to claim that I'm doing a lot for women founders. I'm not. I reach out to whoever reaches out to me. I'm very happy to help. My Sundays are open, and that's where I schedule time with whoever reaches out, right? But it's not just women. I think with our teams, right? I think we try really hard. Obviously with both genders, but with the women just around the time of that sort of time when they have babies, that 1 year, you have to hold them real tight because their brains are mush. We've both been there. Both Chauravi and me have been there. She's been there twice. Sort of breastfeeding, freezing milk in the freezer, all of that cycle. It's hard, right? And if people, and this is not just a founder thing I think it's any company thing. If you are able to keep women during that time, that's where the drop-offs are happening, right? It's not like there are enough women going to business school. That's not, the intakes to all these firms are incredible, but what's happening? They're just all dropping off after they have a kid, right?
I think personally for me, because this is a lot more personal question, right? I think, why 2? Why not more? And I think when we say this word, women support women, I think while it's very cliched, it's also very real for me and a lot of us. There is genuine pleasure when you see that person, doing great and you feel, wow. There is no sense of insecurity sitting here that, why am I not that person? And, and that's what changes. So yes, why not enable whoever? I mean, it's not restricted to women, but why not enable them in any shape and form that we can enable them? And that's personal. And also a corollary of this, at least the way we would like to build our organization is that I'm hoping at least 10 years down the line, we have the next 100 women leaders in India coming out of our organization. Yeah.
So there was a very interesting quote by Madeleine Albright that I stumbled upon this morning, which was, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support women. So, and I think it was very rightly placed for this evening. So I had to make a mental note of it. But, I mean, that is the truth. And yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding sexist or biased, I have to say that women founders just have to work 5 times as hard as the men do. That's been my experience, and therefore, the choices that I make. But the truth also is that we don't owe anybody any explanation for why we do what we do, or we don't. Okay, ladies, now for some fun. I have a bunch of rapid-fire questions.
I'm just happy that Shilpa is on page 2. When is this finishing, Shilpa?
Rapid fire, and then we open questions to the audience. All right? Ayushi, liberation to you means, in one word.
That's hard.
That can't be your answer.
Yeah, should I go?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it first. Taking off my bra.
Great. You know, we came in here saying this is a safe space. And we should say what comes to our mind. We should just say it.
Yeah.
So that's
Clearly
really the whole point.
I'm just
Thank you.
counting the number of men in the room in case they're uncomfortable.
A place where you feel safe.
My workplace.
If you were reborn as an animal in your next life, what would you like to be?
I am really scared of animals. I don't want to be an animal.
A dolphin.
Nice. What is the strangest thing you've ever eaten? Okay, you take that. Never mind, pause. If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be? Today.
Maybe you? Because I want to be asking all the hard questions and not putting you in a spot.
Okay, Meghna, what is your go-to lazy dinner?
Rasam rice.
Rasam rice, okay.
Pizza for me.
Also for you?
Pizza.
Pizza for you, okay. And who's your favorite cartoon character?
Ooh, Calvin.
Yours?
Mickey Mouse.
Nice. What is the one thing that annoys you the most?
People when they're late.
Yes, true. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Ambitious, very funny,
You think so?
and pretty fabulous.
What about you?
You know, dreamer, foodie, and an achiever.
Nice. Favorite men in your life, aside from husband?
I feel I need to say brother-in-law. He showed up.
Can I repeat the same?
And sitting in the front row. And sitting in the front row.
And sitting in the front
Okay,
row.
family doesn't qualify. Come on, there are many more men out there. Don't
I
put
am
words
just
in our
cheating,
mouths.
Aditya.
Okay, now this
You know,
is
it's
a real
really
compliment to
bad.
your husband. You can't think beyond him.
I know.
What about you?
No, but I would say, I think my husband to start with, but I think that more Kaval for his warmth and understanding of the founders. Pradeep Parameswaran for him getting you before you get to know what you're feeling. And a bunch of ex-McKinsey friends, but Ramesh, who is an unconditional supporter.
That's very precious to have so many people who watch out for you, who have your back. Very special. Okay, audience questions. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming here tonight and speaking to all of us. It's a pleasure listening to your opinions and listening to your insights. A question for all 3 of you. When I see all the work that you have done, I see 3 very distinct brands, 3 very distinct communities that you've built around your brands. As founders wearing multiple different hats during a day, how do you make sure that you're really in touch with what your audience is all about, what their, what their needs are, and what their profiles are, so on and so forth? And how do you really make sure that you're constantly innovating and coming up with something new for your brand, for your audiences within that little circle?
That's 2 questions in there. I would urge Meghna and Ayushi to take only one. So choose your one.
So I think fundamentally, this is the magic of D2C, right? You are talking directly to your consumer, and that's true for both of us. I know Ayushi, I shouldn't tell your story, but I know Ayushi used to go to customers' houses and do the measuring herself. This thing, I don't know if she still does that, but no, I'm sure she does.
I by the way
not
have
every customer, but
I do have a tape measure in my bag. Always.
Correct.
Always.
Correct. Yeah. So this is FableStreet. So I think, and it's the same for us in that actually not just the founders, everybody in the company. It doesn't matter who you are, accountant, like the tally operator, or founder, or logistics guy. everyone has to sit in on 1 day a month of listening to customer service calls. Because magic will happen only then when everyone is there, right? They're understanding who is buying the product and what problem we're solving.
Thank you. Next question. Yes. Lady in white.
Hi, my question to Ms. Ayushi, that when you started FableStreet, so how your first 3 months looked alike? Like how you started, what you thought, why you started, what you have thought at that time, and how was your first 3 months?
So let me start with saying that I refuse to relive those 3 months again. Yes. I think all of us do, right? It is hard. And sometimes you look back and wonder what made you do all of this, right? And that's the truth. And I think anyone who's trying to be a founder, it's really important to realize that, you know, there is no right time, there is no decision point, and it's just, none of us are used to making 1,000 decisions in a week or a month, right? But you have to make them and move on. So the only thing I would say, and I'm not answering your question directly, but you know, go with the flow, get it done, and see what happens. And that's the only journey you can take. And there is no other way of like questioning that journey.
Okay, next, yes.
Hi, I'm Neha. Just a question. I'm sure at some point you all had like this real low where you might have felt कि यार things are not happening जैसे सोचा था. Can you talk about that? Because everybody talks about their success, right? Nobody tells us about what do you do when you fail or you feel like you're failing and things are not working out.
I feel like we can talk about that a lot. No, there's, I mean, immense lows, right? And at least for me, I have a co-founder. I think when you don't, it's even harder. So at least literally, you know, in the early days, Shorvi and I used to eat Nirula's hot chocolate fudge. We ran a health food company, and on the really low days, that's what we did. But I mean, this is the thing, right? You have to wake up in the morning and power through it again. There's no other way. Actually, that's what really separates the good from the great. You know, this is what competitive swimming taught me, right? Every day, you have to go and do it again, especially on the days where you really don't feel like doing it.
I've got multiple questions. I'll just go anti-clockwise.
Hi, good evening. My name is Neha, and I'm at the early stages of being a founder, just 2.5, 3 years into this journey. And early and, you know, working with little kids, we manufacture furniture for kids. My question is very specific in the sense that now that I'm at a stage where I have done the seed round or the friends and family round, and, you know, you have not enough ever, but just a little bit money in the bank. And you are, and for us, there are effectively two kind of organizations that are living inside one, because the majority of the employees are in the manufacturing space, but you're looking to hire for the business as such. Any tricks for hiring? Because I think that's the most difficult part of this whole thing.
So first of all, a big round of applause. 2.5 years is not easy. Okay, so you've done the hard work. I think the most important thing to realize is that you have to be a salesperson and you have to go and sell yourself. And sometimes being a woman is harder. I had to recruit a lot of men to convince them that, you know, come join me and I'm fun. But I mean, thankfully they're not in the audience. They will have an alternate view. But yes, I think you have to go out there and sell yourself and sell your vision. And then find a collective set of team and people who have common values. And it takes a lot of time, let me tell you that. Building the right team takes a lot of time. So be prepared for the next layer of hard work.
So I think it's, you know, this is everybody, actually all companies, right? Everybody's sort of fighting this war for talent. And I think at startups, there's at two levels, right? So you have the really junior folks, who just seem to come and go like it's a, I don't know, hotel sometimes. And then the senior folks, right? So for us, at least, we've focused on the L1, L2s, and really making sure they are the culture carriers, and they are the ones that I say we work extra hard to make sure we try and get it right, but we don't always get it right. So we try and make sure we make that exit also, because sort of somebody who doesn't work in your culture they're not necessarily a bad person, it just doesn't work for you.
I think there's just one thing I want to add, and as Meghna was pointing out, right, as you think about your top leadership or next layer leadership, I think you have to commit to make them successful. And that's also a very important thing that you have to sign up for. In-house, inside or outside. And that's when they will be with you.
Hi, so my name is Anshita. I've also been a founder for 3 years now. And at this point, I think the thing that I'm dealing with the most is conflict between my employees. And sometimes when it becomes personal conflict, that's when I don't know how to handle it. So I want to ask you guys, because you've been in this much longer, how do you deal with personal conflict with employees that actually do very well, like as individuals, but they don't get along with each other? How do you do it?
Okay, can I take the liberty of saying this is an offline conversation to have? Most certainly, you can have this conversation. I just feel we want to give any other people an opportunity to talk. And Natasha, if you can tell us how we're doing on time. Couple of more questions? Okay, great.
Hi, this is Gitika. So I wanted to ask, especially since social media is such a relevant tool today, and you're already building your brand in that space, how important is it to build a personal brand? And also in terms of, the increasing pressure, how do you deal with that? Because personal branding has become so important, and there's so much conversation about that. So this is a question to all three of you. How important do you think this is?
This question will only be addressed by Meghna and Ayushi. It's their day today. So, and that's one question, all right? So we'll take the first question. How important is personal brand?
I actually think that you should be building your personal brand only if it enables your business. Otherwise, you are a founder first. Yes. I know social media, and it is hard. And we are living every day in our lives with FOMO. वो ये कर रहा है, मैं क्यों नहीं कर रही? मेरे peers तो Shark Tank पे जा रहे हैं, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, right? So this is the reality. Right? And I have had calls saying, when are you coming on Shark Tank, Ayushi? And I don't want to be on Shark Tank yet. And I also don't deserve to be on Shark Tank, to be very real, right? But I don't think that, you need to create your personal brand. When your brand does well, you automatically get the credit. So just focus on that. I think that's my, yeah.
Actually, I just have a funny story. My brother called me the other day. He's like, "Arey, you're to pakka going to fail." So I was like, dude, this is like what a younger brother will say, right? So I was like, why? He said, all these Desi founders are dancing on LinkedIn all the time and explaining things. You're not doing any of that.
Meghna, we really need to censor our conversation here. That is for the...
It's true, that's what's happening out there. So, but I think there's different strokes for different folks. So you have to choose how much you're comfortable with.
Hi, I'm Chakshu. I am also a founder for almost 2 years now with my homegrown brand. So my main question is for Ayushi and Shilpa ma'am. As apparel industry is overcrowded, I am from apparel industry. So at the initial state of the startup, my query is we should give more importance to the product development and a good quality product or the marketing, because the budgets in the initial phase, it's not very huge that we can spend on the product development also, good quality product, and the marketing. So what should be the priority? Because these days I'm seeing brands which are doing good with the influencing marketing, social media, digital.
Got your question.
Yeah.
No, I think this is more personal as a view. Product wins hands down. You're building a business, long-term sustainability. How well can you market if your customer doesn't come back to you? So that's, I mean, I don't want to make it longer, but product wins hands down.
Okay, well, I think we have to put an end to our audience questions. I just want to sign off by saying not everything that we've talked about will apply to your individual situation and challenges. But I feel that as an outcome of this conversation in this room today, if you're able to take away one learning that makes you feel that there is a possibility while navigating your own journeys with whatever it is that you're trying to build, an idea, a service, a product, or a movement, then I think it's time well spent. And Ayushi, Meghna, you've seen your dreams come true, having overcome frustrations and hurdles along the way, and as you forge ahead on setting new milestones for your businesses, for yourselves, your personal goals, I wish you create a movement which will inspire everyone in this room to go beyond what they first set out to do. And somewhere, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you always make the time to walk in the shoes of the underserved. Thank you so much. And thank you, Quorum, for giving us this platform and this opportunity. Much appreciate this. Thank you all.